is the way to go. I'm completely convinced about that.
Yeah, I have another question. You started solo, then got a few co-founders together, and then you transitioned out of that and then became almost solo and grew the company. We actually see a lot of entrepreneurs and who are running solo, and we say, why don't you find a co-founder? Now, with your experience of going through the cycle, and can you share some tips or experiences about this whole thing about having a co-founder or a soulmate who can kind of run the company with you, etc., etc. What are the tips that you can share with the entrepreneurs on that?
So I've read it somewhere that the magic number is 2. There should be 2 people who should start a company, and they give examples of Google and so on and so forth. So that is what I've read somewhere. The reason I started solo was I knew that I was new to this. I was learning. I just wanted to be kind of let's say a traineeship in entrepreneur. And once I got comfortable, then we had this partners and so on. But because we had this experience of partnership, again when I went when I founded Verisoft, I went alone. I didn't want to have a partner. But
so what are the risks of being a part of the founding team? What things we should guard against?
Okay, I think partner would be a good idea. If I had not had that experience, I would probably have because why I say that is, now that I'm SQS, so the guy from UK came down. He was almost like a partner, and it was good to have that sounding board internally to have these discussions and so on. So I would not say that going solo is the way. You must have that. I think what I said earlier about the startup having a definite idea of what you're trying to do, rather than disparate business. That is what that didn't work for us. I'm not saying that you shouldn't have partners. If there was one focus, startup doing one thing, and then you have partners who are aligned on that, and then there is a division of role.
So three of you couldn't come to an agreement saying this is one business we'll do and not these 3. And
correct, because the idea initially was to do different businesses. It was not the idea to do one business. So I personally, looking back, I think that it was, ultimately that's what happened. You try different things and you settle down onto one thing. So this shutting down of Prabodhan was the process of settling down only. That you settle down on these business and do that business.
But those 2 co-founders never stayed with you in this place?
No.
In
Verisoft, no.
Verisoft.
So one had a networking business, one had another outsourcing related business. So they had the separate businesses. So that was the problem. If you start with an idea, which is now what I see most entrepreneurs do, start with one particular idea and then have 2 people who can complement and work on that, I think that is a good model.
Looking at your experience and your knowledge, one question as well as one opinion. What is the ratio of developer to tester, or development effort to testing effort, and what it should be?
There is a lot of variation in that, depending on technical testing, domain testing, and so on and so forth.
So if we give a ranges of
1:3, 1:4 to 1:2, that's the could be the average, but it could be quite different.
Means still 1 developer to 3 tester?
No.
3 developer to 1 tester?
Yes. Utopia works. But to tell you the truth, the way things have changed, for example, Agile, the importance of testing is actually increasing. You're starting with test driven. Of course, you expect the developer to do that. No matter who's doing it, the role of testing is increasing, actually speaking. Then if you look at reuse of code, somebody talked about reuse of code. Now, what does reuse of code mean? That you're not having to develop it again. But certainly you'll have to test it again when it gets integrated. So, proportion of testing is actually increasing. So, somebody asked a question about what happens to testing. To me, it's very clear that the trend is towards increased testing. And the criticality is increasing so much, even if you look at games and so on. So, the games are getting so complex. All the applications are getting so complex. And testing is only increasing in its importance.
One more question I have to add.
Yeah.
You were it's for big companies different thing. For a small company, is there any platform to reach to those clients? Means few people who may be having requirements, which skill sets you have at international platform. Is there any platform to reach to as a businessman? You can tell.
platforms or these kind of forums, I mean, TIES and so on, I mean, I very actively participated, especially during the very soft period, in all kinds of forums. So I was chairman of CSI Pune chapter, for example. We actually founded SPIN, Vishwas and I founded the SPIN Pune chapter. So SPIN was meant for testing and process improvement. I was in the Maratha Chamber of Commerce Committee of Animation and Gaming because we were in games testing and so on. I was on C. I used to be on all these kind of platforms. I think Geeta is here. Geeta is from Financial Express, Indian Express. And she actually, when this was way back, long time back, and she asked me the question, you always ask a question whenever you are in this forum meetings. So why is that? So I said, I come here to raise my hand and be noticed by everybody else. That's why I asked. So you know, that's how you come to the notice of. Otherwise, you know, as a small company, how much, you know, marketing budget you want to have? The entrepreneur is the marketing person. He has to be very visible, and he has to be talking about his idea to people. That's how it gets conveyed across. Yeah.
A simple question: how many work hours you put in a day, and in years to come, are you planning to reduce them or increase them? And one sub question is,
I'll let my wife answer.
how many hours you spend in front of a computer screen of your work hours?
All the working hours is on the computer, except for meetings, of course. I must say that my schedule has got much more under control as my responsibilities have increased. Because if you're the CEO, I think you have more control on what time the meeting can be set, right? But I've tried to do that even from the beginning. Even when we were a very small company, for example, I think it was in Prabodhan, that we started to visit Mumbai companies. And I made a rule that I will go to Mumbai only on Thursdays, because you know, we have power problems. So if you make these kind of rules, even customers understand that, you know, they won't call you on a Monday, come over here in Mumbai. So it is possible to control your schedule, and which is what I've done from early stage. But now it is probably getting better. That is actually one of the reasons also that I use the company bus to go to the office and come back. If you have a car, the time is always flexible, and you will always, you know, keep waiting for the next mail or next call and so on and so forth. You have the laptop, you'll always come over and work on it. But at least, you know, 8 o'clock I'm at, you know, by 8 o'clock I'm at home, so we can have, you know, dinner at least together and so on. So those kind of things, you know, and I have to say again, the family has been completely supportive. They have got, you know, used to this. My parents as well as my wife and my son, who is now sleeping here. This is what happens. So,
if you have answered it.
Have I answered your question?
Well, how many, in future, what's your plan to increase the work hours or to, and how do you look at the future? That is the question.
No, I see no reason to not, you know, because see, ultimately, as most of people agree, we are working because we enjoy that thing. Right? It's not like we are working and then for enjoyment you have to do something else. So that is the case. You are not in the, you know, right business. So if you're enjoying your work, that's why you're keeping on doing it. And like I said, if I'm finding new things to do, then I keep on doing that.
So for the output based model, you said that you get paid on the number of test cases that you automate. Now typically if you see some of the test cases, they are pretty simple to automate. And as you go along the curve, some are difficult and some are impossible as well. So how do you judge right at the start? And what are your estimation techniques for that?
Competition? No, there's a very long answer to that. So, I mean, we did, I think I mentioned that we did a calibration phase earlier to come up with the thing. The fact is that these kind of models actually make for a much more partner kind of arrangement with the customer than otherwise. So it is in the customer's interest that this thing works. So now then you are not arguing with the customer that this test case size is larger and this is smaller, this is not automatable and so on and so forth. We are giving them a model where they are paying only for successful automation. So it's a much more partnership model where both parties are benefiting. So if these kind of issues come up, we have been able to resolve them with the customer very easily because they see the benefit in this very clear. That is one of the reasons I like this model quite a bit.
So will you comment on what you said from product perspective? If you are working in product environment, I mean, let's change the things. I am from your customer side, say. Then what the question he is asking is more or leans towards the Pareto principle, right? what's the bang for the buck? If I'm giving you X dollars, what you are returning me? My thumb rule is, if I'm giving you 1 hour, you give me $1,000 time. That's the way the things work, at least for a manager who is managing a business from this perspective and expecting from outsourcing.
So the basic point is, I think, ROI. That's what you're talking
Yeah.
about. What is the return on investment that people are getting? And in this kind of a model, the model that I talked about, it is very easy to provide the ROI because now you know what you're getting for your money. So I think that also answers your question.
Thank you, Devi, for such an excellent sharing. We did have a great response from Twitter as well. We had many fabs and artists on your words. So thanks a lot for your sharing. Thank you, Mr. Sameer Karani, for facilitating this session, and Mr. Shuprati Khattur for introducing Tycoon and welcoming everyone. Thank you, audience, for participating in today's event, and our digital audience for staying tuned. We thank our charter members and the volunteers and the Tycoon team for making this event such a success. And we request you to please fill this feedback forms. We are looking forward to have you as a member in the Tycoon, and please connect with Mandar and Madhura for this. Now may I request Mr. Vishwas Mahajan to present the memento to Mr. Vivek. Thank you.